It started with a laugh. That's what still gets me. I remember standing at the kitchen sink, wrist deep in soapy water, humming along to an old Norah Jones song while my husband chuckled on the couch. His phone lit up. He read a message and laughed, not the kind of laugh you give your boss or your brother. It was lighter, playful, even a little bashful. He didn't know I noticed. But I always notice. We'd been married for almost 7 years. The kind of years that blur together like worn-out sweaters. Comfortable, reliable, familiar. We had our routines. Monday night takeout. Sunday morning coffee in bed. He kissed my forehead before work. I packed his lunch. We knew each other's passwords, or at least I thought we did. So when I casually asked, "Who's texting?" he didn't even flinch. "Oh, it's just Sarah," he said without looking up. "From work." Just Sarah. Just a friend. That phrase would become a splinter in my brain. For weeks, maybe months, I tried to believe him. I really did. Because what kind of wife would I be if I turned paranoid every time another woman's name came up? I told myself I was being insecure. I reminded myself of how devoted he used to be. How he proposed with a trembling hand and a handwritten poem. How he cried on our wedding day. But the signs piled up like dirty laundry. Late meetings that didn't show on his calendar. Inside jokes I wasn't a part of. A perfume that lingered faintly on his shirt. Something floral. Something young. And the one that made my stomach turn, a locked phone. I didn't even know he could lock me out. But one day, I picked up his phone to check the time, and it asked for a passcode. He had changed it. Just like that. When I asked him about it, he laughed it off. "IT made us update our security settings," he said. "Does IT also make you smile like a teenager when she texts?" I asked, unable to stop the words from slipping out. He paused, just for a second, and in that pause I saw a flash of fear. Then came the deflection, the irritation. "Though I can't believe you don't trust me." And the grand finale, "She's just a friend." I wish I could say I walked out right then. That I slammed the door, packed my bags, and never looked back. But I didn't. Because betrayal is never that clean. It's sticky. It seeps into your bones before you even realize you're bleeding. So I stayed. And I started watching. I wish I could say I became a cool-headed detective, some smooth operator in control of the whole game. But the truth? I was just a heartbroken woman who couldn't sleep. Every night. I lay beside him, staring at the ceiling while he drifted off in peace. I watched the way he curled away from me, inch by inch, like my touch was too heavy, too much. During the day, I forced myself into smiles, pretended the world hadn't started tilting. I went to work, I baked banana bread for his co-workers, I texted him sweet nothings. All while my heart screamed, something is wrong. The worst part wasn't the suspicion. It was the gaslighting. Every time I asked simple questions. Why were you out so late? Or, who were you texting during dinner? I was met with mockery. You're being paranoid. She's literally engaged. Relax. You're so insecure lately. Maybe you should talk to someone. The irony of that sentence still makes me laugh now. Maybe I should talk to someone? Meanwhile, he was practically giving free therapy to this Sarah girl every night behind my back. I felt like I was losing my mind. Until one night. I didn't. It was 2:17 a.m. He was snoring, deep in that careless, traitorous sleep that only cheaters can manage. I stared at his phone charging on the nightstand, and something in me snapped. I was done wondering, done begging, done crying into my pillow while he whispered lies. I knew I'd seen him type the new code once. Something fast, muscle memory. His birthday? No. Our anniversary? No. But then I remembered something he always joked about. I used the same pin for everything. My old jersey number plus your lucky number. I held my breath and typed, 2817. Click. Unlocked. And just like that, Pandora's box opened. The messages hit me like a wave. The way he spoke to her. Like she was the only woman on earth. Like I didn't exist. Inside jokes. Pet names. Screenshots of our home, our dog, our life captioned with, "This could all be yours." She wasn't just a friend. She was a replacement. And the worst message? One from 2 days earlier. A photo of our bedroom. Our actual bed. My pillow in the background. And the message. Soon. I promise. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. It's funny how betrayal can feel physical. Like your body rejects the truth before your brain can even process it. I sat on the cold tile floor shaking, every memory replaying itself in reverse. The smiles, the kisses. The inside jokes I wasn't part of. The canceled dates, the headaches. It was all there. I didn't scream. I didn't wake him. I just sat. And in that silence, something deeper than pain began to rise. It wasn't rage. Not yet. It was clarity. I knew now. I had proof. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't insecure. I wasn't paranoid. I was right. He thought he was so careful. Thought I was so naive. But he underestimated one thing. I wasn't just a wife. I was a woman with nothing left to lose. And that makes us dangerous. The next few weeks passed in a fog of confusion. You know that feeling when everything looks normal on the surface. You still make breakfast, go to work, do laundry, but something inside you feels off. Like your reality is cracking, one hairline fracture at a time. That was me. I started noticing things I hadn't noticed before. Chris was guarding his phone like it contained state secrets. He'd changed his password, said it was because of security updates from work. And he was suddenly working late. A lot. At first, I tried to dismiss it. We'd been together for 6 years. We had a mortgage, a dog, and plans to try for a baby next year. Why would he throw that away? But something in my gut screamed that things weren't right. So one evening, after he fell asleep on the couch with his phone loosely in his hand, I picked it up. I didn't want to be that person. But I had become that person. The password? Still the same birthday he thought I'd never guess. His exes. Yeah. Once I got in, it didn't take long to find the messages. Hundreds of them. Between him and her. Erica. You remember Erica, right? The just a friend from work who had a rough breakup and needed someone to talk to. Well, apparently talking turned into dinner. Dinner turned into drinks. Drinks turned into sleepovers in hotels. And eventually, sleepovers turned into entire weekends away while I thought he was on business trips. The texts were a gut punch. Chris telling her she made him feel alive. Her saying she couldn't wait to wear white to his wedding. My wedding. She called me the decoy. Can you imagine? I sat there, phone in hand, heart thudding in my chest. Tears started, then stopped. I didn't sob. I didn't scream. I just stared. Because somewhere inside me, a switch had flipped. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. I wasn't going to cry or beg, or even give him the satisfaction of knowing he'd broken me. No. I was going to plan a different kind of wedding. A better one. One he'd never forget. The next day, I called my best friend Jamie. She always said I was too patient, too forgiving. When I told her everything, she paused for a second, then simply said, "Well, it's about time." We hatched the plan over coffee and too many pastries. We were going to give Chris exactly what he wanted. A wedding. Just not the one he expected. There's something poetic about watching a liar walk straight into his own trap. While Chris thought he was pulling the strings, sneaking off, covering his tracks, playing the loving fiancé, I was weaving the ultimate finale. Quiet. Cold. Precise. Step 1 was the hardest. Pretending everything was fine. I smiled at dinner. Laughed at his stupid stories. Let him kiss me on the forehead like he hadn't just spent the weekend with another woman. Behind closed doors, though, I was collecting every receipt. Screenshots. Emails. Hotel confirmations. Even one awkwardly romantic selfie Erica had sent him. In lingerie, with the caption, "Counting down the days until I'm yours forever," ringed at. Oh honey, you had no idea. Once I had everything. I met with a lawyer. Not for a divorce. Not yet. But for something cleaner. Smarter. We had a prenup. One Chris had insisted on early in the relationship, before I started earning more than him. Ironically, that little document would save me. The prenup stated that if infidelity could be proven before marriage, all joint financial claims were void. Meaning? He'd walk away with nothing. He didn't know I had evidence. He didn't know I was building a legal case in the background. But he was about to find out. The next phase? The wedding. Except it wasn't real. Not to me. I kept the venue, kept the catering, kept the photographer. Because every part of it, every flower, every seat, was going to be part of the performance. Chris didn't notice how quiet I'd become. He was too busy texting Erica, probably dreaming about how long he could keep both of us. I was letting him dig his grave. 2 weeks before the wedding, I sent Erica a personal invitation. Custom designed. Elegant. Her full name, printed in gold script. Erica Michelle Torres. You are formally invited to the wedding of Christina Monroe and Christopher Lang. That's me. I used my full name just once, for her benefit. I even added a little post-it note inside, in handwriting that looked a lot like mine. I thought you'd want to be there. After all, you've been part of the journey too. With a smiley face. Jamie almost cried laughing when I showed her. We even added a second surprise. Inside the envelope was a +1 RSVP card, already filled out. Name Chris Lang. Guest of Erica Torres. I can only imagine her face when she opened it. Then came the final detail. Instead of hiring a traditional wedding videographer, I hired a documentary filmmaker. He specialized in storytelling through found footage, raw interviews, and hidden cameras. That was important, because the day of the wedding wasn't going to be a celebration. It was going to be an exposure. July 14th. The venue, a beautiful garden estate. Roses, champagne, a 4-tier cake. Chris was pacing nervously near the altar, not because he was nervous about marrying me, but probably because she hadn't arrived yet. Oh, but she would. And not alone. I waited until every guest was seated, until the string quartet began to play, until the aisle was cleared. And then I stepped out. Not in a white dress, but a black one. Fitted. Fierce. Final. Gasps. Whispers. And one very confused groom. Chris's eyes locked on me, and then on the envelope I was holding in my hand. I walked slowly, deliberately. Every step was a heartbeat. When I reached him, I said 3 words into the mic. Talk to her. I turned, and there she was. Erica. In a short white dress, clearly thinking she was the bride today. Standing at the edge of the aisle. Frozen. Every head turned. I handed the mic to the officiant, who wasn't really an officiant at all, but a legal assistant from my attorney's office, and walked off the stage. Chris looked like he'd been slapped by God himself. The guests started murmuring. Some laughed. Some stood up in outrage. Then the screens lit up. Yes, screens. 2 massive projectors behind the altar began playing a highlight reel. Photos. Text messages. Voice memos. Even video of Chris and Erica leaving a hotel hand in hand. The guests were dead silent. Erica dropped her little clutch purse. Chris tried to grab the mic, but Jamie stepped in and blocked him. I sat front row with a glass of champagne and watched the whole thing unfold like opening night at the theater. The film ended with the words, "Some weddings don't need vows, just truth." I had sent out the wedding invitations on a chilly Thursday morning. Handwritten. Elegant. With gold-trimmed edges and a press wax seal. I wanted her to feel the care that went into it. I wanted her to feel the absurdity, the audacity, the cruelty of what she had been part of, and what she had helped destroy. The invitation read, "You are cordially invited to attend the union of Oliver and Ella, on the ruins of trust and the ashes of just friendship. Because I believe every story deserves a proper ending." I mailed it to her office. Why her office? Because I wanted her to open it at her desk, surrounded by coworkers. I wanted her to sit there, read the carefully crafted sarcasm embedded in every line, and feel the burn of being exposed. Not by anger, not by threats, but by irony and quiet elegance. And it worked. Within 2 hours, I got a message. "What the hell is this, Ella? Why are you dragging me into this like some kind of joke?" I didn't reply, because the truth is it was a joke. A long, elaborate joke she was the punchline of, and I was simply delivering it with class. But Oliver? Oh, Oliver's reaction was priceless. He came home that night sweating, palms clammy. avoiding eye contact. He knew. Somehow, he had already found out. And guess what he said? Did you really send her a wedding invitation? I just smiled. Of course I did. You said she was just a friend. So I figured she'd want to celebrate our love. He stood there, blinking. Speechless. The kind of speechless that doesn't come from guilt alone. It comes from fear. Fear of the house of cards falling. And I knew I wasn't done. Because here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just unravel a marriage. It unravels truth. And I wasn't going to stop until I pulled every single thread. The next day, I met with the building manager of Oliver's office. You see, I had remembered something about an office party 6 months ago. When he came home from drunk, giggling, and smelling like cinnamon and perfume. I requested security footage from that night. I didn't expect to get it. But I did. The receptionist was sympathetic. She had seen him and her together before, always too close, always whispering. She handed me a USB drive and said, "Whatever you're looking for, it's on here, and I hope you make him regret it." I watched the footage in the dark, curled on my couch with a glass of wine, and there it was. 2:37 Uhr nachts. Oliver and her alone, in the copy room, kissing. The worst part? He smiled after. The same smile he used on me when he promised forever. I didn't cry. I just sat there. And that was the exact moment something inside me snapped. Not with pain, but with clarity. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. This was about reclaiming my narrative. About not being the woman who got cheated on and quietly disappeared. I was going to be the woman who turned betrayal into performance art. And Act 2 was just beginning. A few days after watching that grainy office footage, I found myself strangely calm. There were no more tears left to cry. No more begging for answers he'd never give honestly. No more torturing myself with why. I had my truth. And now I wanted my ending. But not the ending he expected. See, Oliver still believed we were going to go through the motions. Tense dinners, hushed arguments, maybe a few months of working on it through counseling, before I either forgave him or fell apart. He didn't realize I had already skipped ahead to the finale. So when he came home that Monday evening, I was waiting for him. Not with accusations or screaming, but with dinner. A full table. Candles lit. His favorite, roast chicken with rosemary, garlic mashed potatoes, and a bottle of that overpriced wine we'd been saving for something special. He looked confused. "What's all this for?" he asked, loosening his tie. "For us," I said sweetly. "To celebrate a new beginning." He sat, wary. Probably thought I'd lost it. That I'd snapped and entered some weird desperate housewife phase. But he was wrong. I poured him a glass of wine and raised mine in a toast. To clarity. We clinked glasses. He took a sip. I took a breath. And then I slid the envelope across the table. "What's this?" "Just some papers," I said. I had my lawyer draw them up. His hands trembled as he opened it. Pages of legal language. Division of assets. Custody of the dog. My clean. Final exit, signed and ready. "You're divorcing me?" I nodded. "Did you think a few lies and gaslights would make me stay? That I'd pretend not to see the lipstick on your collar or the late-night texts? You forgot who I am, Oliver. I don't beg. I don't share. And I don't burn quietly." He looked stunned. The kind of stun that happens when someone thought they held the power, and then realizes they never did. He stammered. "You don't have to do this. We can fix it. It was a mistake." I laughed. Genuinely laughed. "You didn't make a mistake, Oliver. You made a choice. Repeatedly. In parking lots. In hotel rooms. In every just a friend coffee run. And now? I'm making mine." Then I stood. Walked to the door. And before I left the room, I turned back one last time. "By the way, I emailed the wedding invitation to your parents. They loved the poetic ending. Especially the part about ashes." His face paled. And I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry in the car. I didn't call anyone to vent. I just drove, windows down, music playing. Freedom pouring in with the night air. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't someone's wife. I wasn't someone's victim. I was just me, whole, undeniable, unapologetically reborn.